We started out with Curbside. We had an amazing experience. We saw a system that looked like it can do all these other things and had all these promises, and we did try it out, and it was a experience that I wouldn't want anyone to go through. Midway through, we realized I think we made a big mistake here. Curbside to me is the most easy on the eyes, user-friendly, easy to train. Yeah, our trajectory, like Matt just mentioned, was pretty amazing. We're pretty blown away, and I do contribute a lot of that to a lot of the behind-the-scenes work that Curbside does. With the Venice store, when we were at Curbside, I mean, it was like... it was pretty incredible. Go, baby. Let's go. I'm glad to be home.
So I'm excited to introduce Brent Goldman. He's with Clean Tide Laundry. So he's been using Curbside Laundries for some time. Then he took a little bit of a scenic route to kind of see what else is out there software-wise. And we want to welcome you back. So welcome back to the Curbside family. And yeah, we're excited to have you back and looking forward to helping you grow continue helping you grow your wash and fold business. I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts, as far as why you came back to Curbside, and we're happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. It's good to be back here again. And, we did that podcast, one of the first podcasts I've ever done. And so I'm excited to be back on. So thank you for inviting me. Yeah, regarding our software experience, we started out with Curbside. We had an amazing experience, especially with how it organizes all the orders, all the pickup and delivery routes and all that stuff. Everything was incredible. And, as time goes on, when you own a business, people hit you with all these marketing things and things, all these bells and whistles that this thing has and this one doesn't, and boom, boom, boom. And sometimes I could be a little gullible at times. And, we saw a system that looked like it can do all these other things and had all these promises. And we did try it out, and it was a experience that I wouldn't want anyone to go through. So kind of midway through, we realized I think we made a big mistake here. You live and you learn, and a couple of things. Number one, Curbside to me is the most easy on the eyes, user-friendly, easy to train, because we've got employees who computers are not their first thing that they know very well. So we had an incredible experience with the training. It was very quick with Curbside. That was not the case with this other system. The other thing that was, trying to get someone on the phone and fix the thing, it's a whole thing when you're trying to get something fixed. With Curbside, you pick up the phone, somebody picks up, and it's like very mom and pop. In short, I'm just very happy to be back, and we're looking to expand into our other store, and just very excited to continue being a part of the Curbside family.
And welcome back. And yeah, this one, I got to admit, it kind of hit me a little bit hard because we came through, you look at your original revenue, and I know you're hustling and you're working, door knocking, getting commercial accounts, and you're not just passively waiting around. That being said, we also helped on the SEO, got you ranked number one, and I just saw your revenue just go up and up and up. And then even 1 year later, you still see that upward trajectory, and each month was about 5 times higher than the month 1 year prior. That upward trajectory was just continuing. So I'm excited to have that continue and help out over there. And I understand you've got a second store and you're using a different system there. I was just wondering what the growth looked like over there.
To touch on that a little bit, yeah, our trajectory, like Matt just mentioned, was pretty amazing. We're pretty blown away, and I do contribute a lot of that to a lot of the behind-the-scenes work that Curbside does, SEO, all this keyword stuff. I'm not a big tech guy with knowing how to do all that stuff, but I know I've seen the stuff that they do, and I really do owe a lot of that to Curbside. And as tough it was to try this other thing out and come back with my tail between my legs and say that, we're happy to be back. The new store, we've had some success and our trajectory has gone up a little bit, but that was mainly because we retooled the store. We redid the store. But, it kind of went up just like this, whereas with the Venice store, when we were at Curbside, it was like, it was pretty incredible. And the trajectory is definitely not where we would like it to be. We're working hard at it, but I truly believe getting back in and switching our system out over there with Curbside, things are going to start really, really ramping up. So I'm really excited to see that.
Hey, it's Laundromat. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. We're going to be releasing a whole bunch of content from The Clean Show, so you don't want to miss it. It's kind of funny you mentioned that because This goes back to the 2017 Clean Show. So that was over in Las Vegas. And I remember just looking around and you see these multi-million-dollar machines, the commercial grade, industrial, and just kind of a little bit intimidated because we had this 10 by 10 booth at the time. And my dad was pumping me up and he goes, Matt, this booth right here, what you guys are doing could help make people more money than all these guys over there. And so it's like you could retool your store, but if people don't know where you're at, they can't find you online, you don't have the SEO, you don't have the software to create those relationships and help people coming back. When I was a real estate agent, they said, don't be a secret agent. You have to let people know about you. And that's kind of what we do. We help laundry, mom and pop laundry owners, kind of like ourselves, find out about you and just dominate online. At the Clean Show this time, I was doing all these searches. I did a search for Wash and Fold Orlando, which is where the show was at, and first search result, one of our clients, Orlando Laundry Room. I did a search for North Hollywood, Wash and Fold, and laundry pickup, you name it, and the top 3 search results, all curbside. Did a search for Las Vegas, right at the top, and just search after search after search. And it's like, if anybody can make better websites, I haven't seen it.
It's funny you say that because, of course, wherever I go, laundromats is always on my mind. And, of course, me and my wife did the same thing. Like, I wonder what kind of laundromats around here. And, of course, we did that. And I seen, and I scrolled down. I'm like, well, there's a curbside. That's a curbside. So I did the same thing. That's funny. The one thing that I really loved at the beginning that I'll never forget is that you guys have been in this business for a long time. I mean, with your family, your mom and your dad, so it's like you guys know exactly what it takes too, as operators too. That was really one of the things that I loved about it. And of course, the training and going to the store and learning the software, and your mom kind of helped us. I mean, she was so helpful. Linda, we talk about Linda to this day. We bring her up a lot, actually. Like, I wonder how Linda's doing. But when we would call Linda, she picks up right away. She took the time to talk to us, and of course you and your team and everybody else. But just felt it's like being a part of a family. I don't know. It's hard to explain. You don't get that with other companies. It's very special. So.
Oh, I appreciate that. And yeah, so we offer the behind the scenes tours at Super Suds, and I think it's helped a lot of people get going and get the confidence and kind of learn how it's done and without having to reinvent the wheel. We bumped our heads against the wall many times. We tried a lot of stuff, and and a lot of times, like, somebody will mention that they're advertising a certain way, and we tried that and it may not have worked, so we know where we get the ROI. So it's kind of like, rather than having to spend your own money to kind of figure all this stuff out, we love it when, clients, call, they ask, hey, what do you recommend in this situation? And, we're happy to help out, because our feeling is, like, the better you do, the more success you have, it just reflects good upon us. It's a win-win. I mean, you take care of your client and everybody wins. And then another thing, as laundry owners, we built the software a certain way, to help everybody's businesses. And I understand you've got a number of commercial accounts. And this is something people don't realize, is when they're getting started, they don't even know the questions to ask different laundry software companies. And they see the demo and they're like, ooh, fancy feature. And a lot of times these software companies make things superficial because their goal is to sell software. Ours is to sell software that works because we're using it. We're drinking our own Kool-Aid. When you see a demo, you don't even know what you're looking at because you're just seeing the surface level. So, for example, on the invoicing for commercial accounts, you're mentioning you ran into some type of issue for the places with more than one location?
Oh, on the system that we tried. So one of the things that I saw was that, and this is actually a big problem because it's a trust problem, and when you have a lot of commercial accounts that rely on you, and some of them are pretty high end spots, and it's our bread and butter, so any little thing that they may think is like off, or we're trying to overcharge or do this or that, or raises red flags. So what happened is and maybe I'll rewind a little bit, but the cool thing about Curbside is that when you plug in a commercial account, and we have a handful of accounts that have many locations, you have the ability under one account to create all these different locations, addresses and pickup routes, and it automates when the drivers The driver knows exactly which location it's going to. Our attendants know which laundry is for which account. And the most important piece is it is the system of Curbside will shoot out an invoice. There might be a different owner for each location, so each location has to have its own invoicing. Curbside automates it for each location. Me being not a tech guy, thinking about how you guys created that, I don't even know. It's like kind of blows my mind. But when we started this, when we drifted off and tried this other system, it didn't do that. And there was like a few extra steps that you had to go through in order to have it happen. And it was just not, and even that wasn't working. Some of our commercial accounts were going, it was billing all under one account, and it was a problem. And they were starting to lose some trust in us. And they were wondering, well, you used to invoice like this. Like, how come it's, what's going on here? And we were this close from losing some accounts. But we didn't. Thank God we were able to reel it back in and make it all right. And they understood what was going on. We said we're switching back to our software we had before, and won't happen again. And now we're back to Curbside, and it's all working smooth again.
So for the audience, a lot of these commercial accounts, it could be Airbnb, and there's the West Coast property, the East Coast property. You need to make sure that West Coast shows the pickup and deliveries for that location, and it's all time stamped, and you can see how much the West Coast property spent during that period, whether it's 1 week or 1 month. And so my understanding is everything was getting kind of commingled, and it looked like one of the locations was getting triple charged. And you raised the red flag with a commercial account, and you're right, that's a trust issue. Anything dealing with money is super, super sensitive, and these commercial accounts, they're money. You don't want to blow it on a commercial account.
No, exactly what Matt was saying is that's true, and that's exactly what happened. And it was a little bit of a scary situation, and I mean, going back and forth trying to figure out how to fix it, and the overall system just wasn't for us. And I do want to touch on something that also I thought was really important, especially for my attendants when they're trying to figure out which order is coming up or which order is next. In Curbside, an order won't show up in the laundry side unless it's binned. So when the order is binned on the shelf, it then appears on the laundry side, which is how it should be, and I love that. This other system, we have a lot of routes and a lot of future routes. It just shows everything from like a week out or something. So when
they're going I had no idea.
It's very confusing.
So the tenant could, quote, be washing laundry that's not even there.
It might be that you still have to bin it to process, but still, I mean, I'm a visual guy. Like if it's something... Yeah. I can't be looking at too many things, and it obviously is the same thing with. They kept calling me like, "Hey, there's this order here." I'm like, "No, that's a future order." It was always, I don't know why it was like that, but it should be exactly the way Curbside's set up, where it's not in there unless it's on the shelf, ready to be processed.
Makes sense, because you want to just do a spot check and be able to say, hey, how much laundry do we have? And if the list is gigantic and you're like, what? Well, we got to get to work. I got to go hire more people, make sure more people show up tonight. I mean, that's just useless clutter that makes it difficult to do your job.
Yes. And the computer wasn't matching the scale weight. We know that scale's right. The little things like that.
That's actually a big little thing, and I've heard that before, where the first time the scale weight is off, and then you do some stuff and then it's accurate. But how many times, like, you might be really diligent to make sure they match and you double check. But if it's not reliable, guaranteed your attendants may just say, good enough for me, check. And if somebody that goes back to the trust thing. We're all about the consumer experience. And if they don't trust you, they're going to find somebody else they do trust. And if you mischarge them, they're not going to trust you.
Yes, and that was a big one. They had to start entering it in manually, which is also could be very, very scary too. So we were entering it in manually and until we were waiting for it to be fixed, and of course the computer weight was less than what it said on the scale, and that's a problem. And even the opposite of that, if it was more on the computer and less on the scale, that's a big problem too, because you're charging more, and that's not good, because they're used to just clicking on the button on the screen and it adding up just like Curbside. And it's funny, when I set the Curbside back up at the Venice location, the whole store was so excited because they were just happy to get back into Curbside, because they were just fed up with all this stuff that wasn't working, and we were all like we're going back to curbside. It's everything's going to be better. Everything's going to be back to normal. And then I hooked up the scale, and right away I checked the weight just to make sure everything lined up. And what do you know? Of course, it lined up perfect. And you don't have to enter it in manually. See, boom, and you're like, oh, my God, it's working now. Great.
We did stuff manually and mistakes would happen. So we're like, we got to automate that because, anytime there's data entry, mistakes could happen. And so the more stuff you could automate, it's faster and more accurate. So it's double win.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's a lot of folks who we warn them ahead of time. There's a difference. And we heard from somebody who's using that software. They said they don't have the attention to detail that this industry requires. And I think that's pretty accurate because there are these different issues that affect the quality of life, affects your relationship with your clients. It affects your trust, the trust your clients have with you. So those things are like utmost important, especially when it has to do with money or overcharging or undercharging. But bottom line is there's what tends to happen, and I think it's because they're playing like a .com game, and this is just speculation. When they sell a system and say like it's $3,000 for the license, there's a multiplier with software as a service companies where it could be 10 times multiplier, whatever the annual gross revenue is. So if they sell a system for $3,000, they just increase the value of their company by $30,000. So people call in and say, I'm tired of this. I'm having all these problems. It's just not worth it anymore. And they'll get offered because they don't want to lose that $30,000. They'll say, hey, you could have the software for free. You could have the hardware for free. Just stay with us until we get it resolved, which never happens. Or maybe sometimes it happens. You didn't start a laundromat to get free hardware or free software, because I'm sure if you would have asked, they would have given you free software, because they want that $30,000 of funny money. So what motivated you to switch? Because a lot of people, they're like, oh, you know what? It's really annoying and it's costing me this way and that way, but it's free.
It's a really good question.
Even though people know it's hurting their business to stay with them, they stay with them because the software is free. So I was just curious, like what you would tell somebody or why you chose to switch back to Curbside when you had the opportunity to get free software.
Software is like the backbone of this thing. And like if you don't have the right software to be able to and of course without my people, this thing without my team, like we're nothing. And like I need to make sure my team and me and the whole thing like works together, and we all work around this backbone. So like the backbone meaning the POS system that keeps track of everything. And if that is not working properly for my attendants, for me, my partner, my wife is my partner, for us, for everybody, like I don't care if it's free, I don't care if it's this or that, it ain't gonna work. If offered for free, I wouldn't have stayed, because if you lose all your business over this and you have free software, it's worth nothing. Like, especially because we're big with commercial, and if we start, losing all this stuff, if these issues can't be fixed within the software, and I start losing some customers, and boom, next thing you know, I'm like, oh my gosh. So we switched back because we know Curbside works. If we had a few hours, I could tell you all about why it works for us, but it just is so smooth. It's so smooth. It's so easy to use. We switched back because of the experience we've had with Curbside is like none other. Even before when we were testing out some other softwares, whatever, before we came on with Curbside in the very, very beginning, it just was, I was like, I'm done searching. This is it. This is it, done. And it goes back to like you guys have the know-how and knows what each laundromat needs, because you guys are in the business and you're operators. You're drinking Kool-Aid, like you said, and it shows in the software. It's kind of as simple as that.
A lot of people have the assumption that everything works. With all the software companies, software is always the same. It's a commodity, and so there's that perception that if somebody's selling it, it quote must work, and that's not always true. And the other part is we're really focused on how you acquire customers and how you get them coming back. And just did a webinar or workshop just for clients last week, continued education, and I had like 3 different revenue generating ideas that like you do any one of those, your revenue is going to increase. So we're constantly looking out for our clients. And so one of our clients, And he's done very well. And he goes, Matt, as a courtesy, just want to let you know this one company is the same one you went with for a little bit. They have this feature that I really like. And this feature, by the way, would only save him $200 a month. It's helping with credit card fees for only in store. So we're talking about $200 a month. Meanwhile, this guy's making close to $100,000 a month in wash and fold. And so he's just kicking butt. So then I'm like, hey, do you know anyone nearby you using that software? He goes, oh, yeah, I got a buddy down the street. I go, how's he doing? And he goes, he's making about $5,000 a month. I'm like, dude, you got to invite him to the curbside party and not join his party. And he goes, you know what, you're right. And as soon as it was like the light turned on and the conversation is over, like it was great, because he realized, he's on to something good. And that's something we strive for our clients, and everybody's sort of got a different nugget to crack, like a different challenge. And you never know that's why you hire consultants, because they can look at your situation. They have the experience. They go, you know what, you need to be doing more of this or more of that. And that's kind of the way we see ourselves is, parents have had the laundromat since the 90s. And so we've been in it. So I think that makes a big difference.
Huge.
With your second location, I was just curious as far as like how you found that location, or did you negotiate the lease on your own, or what did that look like?
At first, what we were doing is going to every store we could find, just walking in and talking to the owner. And they're finding the owner, which is very hard to find in a laundromat. A lot of people live out of state and are operating from out of state or whatever it is. But this store, I believe we found online. In fact, we found it online. I called the listing agent on the listing, got some information, and then I realized, with me, like, there's a lot of stuff when you're looking at laundromats that, there's tricks, like looking at utility bills. Does that add up with the amount of revenue they're pulling? And I don't know that formula. And so what we did is we actually hired a broker who was also as a broker and consultant in the same time, because he literally helped us with everything. And his name is Scott Steinberg, and he did an incredible job from negotiating our lease terms to negotiating the price of the store. I mean, it was without him, it would have been a little difficult. I kind of know what all the things to kind of look at, but he kind of really got into the details and really helped hold our hand through the whole entire process. I'd use him again. I'd for sure use him again.
Great advice. I've got a friend who, because he knows I'm a little bit into laundry, and he goes, hey, Matt, I found this opportunity, and what do you think about it? And I'm like, hire a laundry broker. That's what I think about it, because you only get to buy one time, and that determines whether it's a good deal or a bad deal. One of my first experiences with Curbside was as a laundromat nearby us, and we helped his revenue go way up, because web presence and the software and all those things. And then he calls up and goes, man, I need to cancel the software. I'm like, what? That's not allowed, but because he's growing, why would he cancel something that's making money? And it turns out he got taken, you can't believe, on the buy. And if he had professional representation, they would have found it a million miles away. This company was doing every dirty trick you could imagine, running the water, putting quarters into the machine. I probably shouldn't say all the tricks, but you know what? If you fall for it, you fall for it. It's like you got to ask for more than 3 months of utility bills. You know the tricks. There's always ways of finding out. You just got to know the tricks. And I've heard great things about Scott. Great negotiator, great guy to have on your side.
Absolutely. If anyone is looking for a store, and especially if it's their first store, I highly recommend getting a broker. If you don't know a broker, look the guy up. His name is Scott Steinberg, and he did wonders for us. We got our store for way under what they were asking, because he knew what to look for, and the formulas from utility bills, and like I say, like Matt said, you don't know if they're adding quarters in there, turning the water on, all that stuff. There's all these tricks that I don't know. Maybe at some point I will know exactly how to do it, but I'd probably use them again on a third store for sure.
Yeah, it makes sense. The Clean Show, we were showing off the new user interface, so we're making it even more streamlined and easier for attendants. Something really important is just making it super easy to say, if the customer comes into the store, to make it easy to say, you know what, do you want it delivered? And you just tap a button in one tap. So you don't even have to know before you create the order. Mid-order, you could just switch it to delivery. So that's going to make it easier to convert those in-store guys into pickup and delivery. And we love doing that because the pickup and delivery customers spend more, they order more often, and they give you more laundry. Another thing that I think is going to help out your second store as well is the subscriptions. And so I'm going to be doing a podcast just on that. And so on the subscription to buy the bag for in-store. For pickup and delivery, I wouldn't go buy the bag because, a lot of people just order one bag and you make this. Well, a bag is 30 pounds and the average pickup and delivery order is 45 pounds. So right off the get-go, you're losing about 15 bucks. No, not 15 bucks. You're losing $30 per order. There's 15 pounds on average of laundry you're not getting because they just buy one bag. And is somebody going to buy two bags when they don't really have two bags? So what winds up happening is you get the guys who order one bag, you get the guys who order two bags, but you're missing all the money in between because they would have given you more clothes. So you kind of lose money when you go buy the bag. That being said, for in-store, I'm a big believer by the subscription, buy the bag, because the average order size is 27 pounds. Those bags are 30 pounds and it's convenient. It's got your branding. And so next time somebody brings laundry into your laundromat and they drop it off, you could say, hey, instead of 60 bucks, if you join our club, it's $50. And they go, that sounds great. I'd love to save 5 or 10 bucks. And say, okay, how many times a month do you think you'll be coming by? A couple times. Okay, so 2 bags, 50 bucks a pop. That's $100. And our software will automatically charge them $100 every month. It'll keep track of it so you don't have to. And so it just makes it easy. And now you have recurring revenue. Before the month even starts, you'll get a deposit. So we're super excited on that.
Wow. That is awesome. And I didn't know that you guys were doing that. I'm very excited for that. Very excited for that. I can't wait to tell my partner about that. That's going to be cool.
And just like you, I can't wait for it to come out either. Yeah. So we're very close. It's part of the new UI. So that'll be going to beta in November and probably wide release December. So we're excited for that rollout.
It's coming up very quick. Can't wait.
Well, we appreciate your business. One thing we do is we constantly reinvest. And the other part too is we're also making features that make the quality of life better. I think a lot of software companies are so focused on the new bell and the whistle, the new bell, because that helps them sell more software, where we're also focused on just making what we've got even better, more robust, because at the end of the day, we care about your relationship you have with your clients. That's so important, and we want to make sure that's smooth.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. I'm excited for what's to come with Curbside.
We're going to have you back on the podcast because now we got the second store. It was flat for some time on the wash and fold, and we're going to drive that. It'll be exciting to go ahead and share that, and we're excited to be a part of it.
Can't wait.
Thank you again. I'm glad you're back with Curbside. I think everything works out for the best. And yeah, we're ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be home.
And if you'd like to learn more about the Curbside Laundries wash and fold and pickup and delivery solution, go to curbsidelaundries.com.